A warm, sunny spring welcome to Kingsmeadow for live coverage of this Adobe Women's FA Cup quarter-final tie between the current holders Chelsea and the 2024 finalists Tottenham Hotspur.
Easy enough for Matilda Wimberg.
And Sam Kerr helps it in.
And Spurs one step closer to Wembley.
Chelsea come into this one the undoubted favourites, chasing a fifth FA Cup in the last 6 seasons and a 7th across the wider decade, where so often they've been dominant ever since winning their first back in 2015. But off the back of Champions League disappointment in midweek, a quarter-final exit against Arsenal, need to find their best form to bounce back and avoid a surprise loss against Spurs. They've won all 17 head-to-heads against Tottenham Hotspur. Sam Kerr will be crucial, of course. She's scored in 3 FA Cup finals for the Blues in 2021, 2022 and 2023. When she is on fire, Chelsea are often pretty unstoppable. And of course that combination with Lauren James when it's in full flight is quite something to behold. James, who is one of English women's football's great starlets, scored 5 goals across this season. You wouldn't be surprised if she notches in the FA Cup today. And one change for Chelsea from that starting lineup in midweek that's particularly notable sees Naomi Girma come in for Lucy Bronze at centre-back. Niamh Charles is also in for Fila Beaumont in a rearranged defence. Girma still settling into life in Chelsea, scored a crucial goal to get them through against Manchester United in the 5th round. Chelsea aside with so much silverware to show over the years. 7 wins in their last 9 and, as mentioned, going for a 5th FA Cup in the last 6 seasons. But by their extremely high standards, it's actually been a disappointing campaign. They might have won the League Cup last month with victory against Manchester United, but the WSL is all but gone. 9 points behind with an inferior goal difference to Manchester City with 3 games to play. And as mentioned, out of Europe, so looking for something of a consolation of a domestic double, such as their very high expectations. Martin Ho's Tottenham Hotspur looking to cause a surprise against Sonia von Pastor's Chelsea, and Spurs have made 3 changes from the side that lost 5-2 at Arsenal in the North London derby 9 days ago. They do have the benefit of the fact that they're a bit better rested than their opponents, who of course were in action in midweek. Julia Blackstad, Bethany England and Evelina Sumanen in for Molly Bartrip, Micah Hamano, who's ineligible against her parent club, and Olivia Holt. Bethany England plays and captains against her old team, will be desperate to make an impact against the side who so often, historically, she was a key part. Emma Hayes describing her as a winner and a Chelsea club legend. And that same set of descriptions could certainly be applied to Drew Spence, who came through the Chelsea Centre of Excellence once upon a time. 239 appearances, 50 goals and 12 major trophies for Chelsea before signing for Spurs in 2022. Spence will be key in that midfield battle, as will be the talented young Signe Gupset, who is still working her way into life at Spurs, but is without a doubt one of the best young players in Europe. Spurs' record signing, and off the back of a superb 2025 Euros, was pursued by plenty of clubs. It was seen as a real coup for Martin Ho to get her. Spurs then runners-up back in 2024 when they lost at Wembley against Manchester United. This is just their 3rd ever major semi-final. If they could get there, but they'd have to cause quite the upset against Chelsea. Went out in the 4th round of the FA Cup last season, but have actually had a very good league season. They collapsed at the back end of last season to finish 11th, but started this season so strongly that at one point even a European place was being discussed. They've just slipped away from that, but are all but guaranteed to finish 5th in the final table regardless of results in the last 3 games. They're 9 points off Manchester United and Arsenal Spurs, and they are 8 points ahead of Brighton and the London City Lionesses. Hence it's extremely likely with just 3 games left 5th will be where they finish. What Spurs are playing for in the league is that they are 3 points off their best WSL tally of 32 points, which was back 4 seasons ago. For now though, the league irrelevant to these two. It's cup football, it's extra time and penalties if needed. We're all set for plenty of drama here at Kingsmeadow. It's Chelsea against Spurs. Chelsea versus Spurs in the Adobe Women's FA Cup quarter-finals. The home side have won all 17 meetings between these two. Tottenham Hotspur desperate to cause an upset and rub more salt into the wounds for the Blues, who've already gone out of the Champions League in midweek against one of their London rivals in Arsenal, and now desperate to ensure that they will be in the final 4 of the Adobe Women's FA Cup, a competition where they've so often been at that stage. Chelsea have only failed to make the semi-finals once in the last 12 seasons, but as Brighton's surprise 2-0 win at Arsenal yesterday showed, being favourites means nothing, particularly in a one-off cup tie. Spurs have had a season that's above expectations and is certainly not burdened by a sense of pressure. Let's take a look at the team, starting with Chelsea. They make 2 alterations from the side that won 1-0 against Arsenal in midweek at home in the Champions League quarter-final, but lost 3-2 on aggregate. Naomi Gurma comes in for Lucy Bronze, who'd been operating as something of an emergency centre-back, and Fila Beaumont makes way for Niamh Charles at left-back. Apart from that, it is same side that came so close, weren't clinical enough, according to Sonia Bonpastor, to come from overturning that 3-1 first leg deficit. Bonpastor saying we've been missing that clinical element in front of goal, and that's probably why our season is not at the level we want it to be. We must be ruthless. Spurs make 3 alterations from the side that collapsed to lose 5-2 at Arsenal in the North London derby 9 days ago. Julia Blackstad comes in for Molly Bartrip in the backline. Evelina Sumanen will bring energy and stability in midfield. Micah Hamano, of course, can't play against her parent club. She's on loan from Chelsea. And Olivia Holt drops to the bench to make room for Bethany England, who comes in and captains against her old team. It might be 4-4-2 on that team sheet, but watch out for the fact that Gupse will probably often drift infield into a number 10 position, and there's every chance Beth England will head out onto that right wing. It will often look like more of a 4-5-1 or a 4-2-3-1, with Katinka Tambert, the lone old-school number 9 option up front. A lovely day for it. Plenty of Spurs fans have made the short trip to Kingsmeadow and hoping that their side can bring about some kind of an upset, reach what would just be 3rd ever major semi-final. Of course, won 2-1 after extra time against Leicester City a couple of years ago to get through to the final when beaten 4-0 by Manchester United. It would mean so much for Spurs to cause an upset. Expectation high from those Chelsea fans. Plenty of eyes, as always, on Sam Kerr. 11 goals this season across all competitions. So much history in this particular one, having scored in 3 finals. Contract up next summer, no shortage of speculation around that too. Bethany England, desperate to remind her old employers of her many qualities. Martin Ho has said that if the season ended now for Spurs, it would be considered a success. They've got time to make a big impact here today. Chelsea against Spurs in the Adobe Women's FA Cup quarter-finals for a place in the Final Four that has been such a regular part of Chelsea's season. They've only not made the semi-finals once in the last 12, and losing at Everton in September 2020. Spurs, meanwhile, looking to get to just the third ever major semi-final in their history. Of course, only promoted up into the WSL, the top flight in the league structure in 2018. Chelsea looking for a fast start. Infield for Cuthbert. James thought of shooting for a second. Floats one up. Tidied up by Sioka Nusken. Tottenham also looking to overcome a wretched head-to-head record against this opponent. They've lost all 17 meetings against Chelsea. 7 of those have been by just a single goal. Ellie Carpenter, a little bit of miscommunication. Tambert linking the play, and now possibilities for Spurs. Good set. Might go herself, was just shepherded out of it. Solid defending by Niamh Charles. Spurs still on the high press. Amanda Nielden will tidy up. He may have just picked up a shout from the touchline of tilt, tilt, tilt. That is in relation to Spurs. One thing to watch when they've got the ball at their feet is they'll actually resort to a back three in possession, and one of the two fullbacks will have the licence to become more of a winger. So the instruction to tilt is along the back line, tilting in that sense. And then often one of Spence or Sumanen dropping in between the two centre-halves. Nielden. It's an inviting ball over the top for Blackstad. He's twisting and turning and getting away from Carpenter. Blackstad's cross is too close to Hannah Hansen. Carpenter. Got it away in a hurry. Then briefly given time, all the way back to Lisa Kopp. One of Spurs' big heroines in getting this far, scored a penalty as the goalkeeper in the shootout win in the 5th round, and then saved the penalty that gave them a 9-8 win in the penalty kicks format after a 2-2 draw following extra time in a bit of an epic. Finberry had Spurs in front early on, but Daniel van der Donk and Jana Fernandez scored each within a minute or so, and it needed a penalty from Beth England in the 6th minute of stoppage time to make it 2-2 and get it to extra time. And he sense Kopp will be pretty busy if Spurs are to go through today. Walsh. James. Gurma. Charles. Thompson had come for the short pass. Works out okay for Chelsea though. Hurriedly cleared by Anna Vick. Gurma. He's already got almost a half-century of caps for the US women's national team as a 24-year-old. That tells you how good she is. Crossfield ball dealt with for now. Charles inside for Cuthbert. James. Space for Charles. That's a cute cutback. And Kopp has to be sharp at her near post. Always offers an outlet. There's a fullback down that left side, Niamh Charles. Just inviting that first-time finish. Wasn't a bad effort at all from Thompson either. It's interesting speaking to a couple of analysts in the build-up to this one. They did feel like Chelsea's best route to getting at Spurs in terms of the way these two 11s tactically match up is in the wide areas. There's already a sign of that in the first 5 minutes. It will be intriguing to see if that's a pattern which continues. England is getting plenty of close attention. Good set. It's that wide option on the right, didn't quite have it, but gets it to Blackstone. Given away a little bit tamely by Spurs there. Hampton being hunted down by England. Seeing Spurs on a high press, it's not too surprising. It's something Martin Ho has talked about changing ever since he came in. So he's asked his side to play totally differently, be brave with the ball, build up in a more direct way and also press higher up the pitch. Walsh. Decent looking move down the left until Kerr could only find touch. Sam Kerr, who squashed rumours of her leaving after 10 News AU reported that she'd signed for Denver Summit. Kerr replying, as modern players do, via social media, using her Snapchat to say, "Don't believe everything you read in the media, man. They know a decision before me." Just looking to settle their way into the game and not do what they've had a habit of doing against the big teams across recent years, which is often conceding early and leaving themselves right on the back foot in terms of chances of completing an upset. Nuskum, James. Been given either way by the referee. Now Wimberry. Still going here, what a run this is. Has managed to win Spurs' first corner of the game. Great persistence from Matilda Wimberry. Signed just over a couple of years ago from Hammarby, Swedish international. He's very useful for Spurs because they're not a squad that have a lot of natural wide options. She does give them that. Evelina Sumanen to deliver. First corner of the game, what can Sumanen conjure up? Towards that far post. Dealt with for now, England. Now the cross comes back in. That is simple as you like for Hannah Hampton. Hampton again, who's 23 years old. It feels like she's been around forever though already, having made her debut as a 16-year-old for Birmingham City and spent time with Villa before joining Chelsea, establishing herself as England's #1 and a European champion as well. And very comfortable in situations like this, Hampton, very two-footed. It comes from background growing up playing in Spain, where she played one half as a striker, one half as a keeper. Eventually settled on becoming just a goalkeeper as a 14-year-old. Carpenter. Buchanan. Patient possession from Chelsea. And James trying to slide one in behind for Carpenter. It's hurriedly scooped out by Julia Blackstad. Every inch the modern fullback Carpenter, she'll take an opportunity to underlap and get him behind, and she almost did here. Important challenge by Amanda Neal-Den. Chelsea's first corner of the contest. Lauren James to deliver. Comes back invitingly for Walsh to shoot. Blocked by England. Thompson. James. James's little dink was begging for a final touch. It still needed saving from Top though. What a lovely ball in from Lauren James. Calmly made sure. Spurs' Dutch international keeper. Lost her place at Leicester to Janina Leipzig, but has been consistently impressive presence for Spurs this season. Lisa Kopp. Near post corner. Strong header from Blackster. Back towards goal by Walsh. Scrambled away. Spurs free kick. I mean, it wasn't 1/10 of the goalmouth scramble that we saw for Liverpool's winning goal against Charlton yesterday from Zara Shaw in extra time. That's well worth going having a look at on the Women's FA Cup socials. One of the most chaotic 6-yard box goalmouth scrambles I've seen in a long time. Spurs have got to be careful here, and Chelsea's high press has emphatically worked. Carpenter. Nusken. Again, though, Spurs just can't find a way out. Nusken once more. Carpenter looking to pick the Spurs lock. Away by Spence. For him this will feel like slightly something of a home game as a former Chelsea player, certainly in terms of familiarity with Kingsmeadow. Patient possession from Chelsea. It's always going to be a contest where we're likely to have much more of the ball, but as Sonia Bonpastor herself said pre-match, Spurs will always present a threat in transition and a threat on the counter-attack. Spurs have it back, and a key part of this game is making sure they offer a threat when they do have it. It's a nicely pieced together move. Needed the intervention from Germa. Sonia Bonpastor, of course, having an excellent first season in charge of Chelsea, who didn't even lose a game until March. Were a winning machine, but if you were to put it in musical terms, it's a bit of the difficult second album, really. Paul Green leaving early in February after 13 years as head of women's football. A big injury list, an increasingly competitive league, which Manchester City seems set to win. Foul by Spence on her old teammate Cuthbert. Just running over the back of Cuthbert after The Scot have nudged it in front of the Jamaican. Spence booked as well, so will have to be on her best behaviour from now. It's already going to be a difficult test for Spurs. The last thing they need is a sending off. James to deliver. I think she was trying to catch out Cop at her near post there. Didn't quite get her angles right, but you have to admire the audacity of James to try it. Yes, absolutely was. Thinking maybe that Cop had just drifted a little too far in the other direction, wary of the cross. Cuthbert fighting for it. Cuthbert losing it, which is not a phrase you find yourself saying too often. Held up well by Tambet, who's already become a fan's favourite amongst Spurs fans. I think Tambet will have a big part to play in this game if she can hold that ball up and give Spurs an outlet up there. Or give the visitors something to build on.
Switch, come on!
Forward by Koga. Chelsea, unsurprisingly, dominating possession. 69% for them early doors here. But Spurs won't necessarily mind that so long as it's passive possession in areas like this. Slightly loose from Buchanan under pressure. Of course, it's so great to see back out there after almost 15 months out with an ACL injury. Returned against Manchester United in the 5th round of the FA Cup, where Chelsea needed extra time to go through. And ball against Muskin. Chelsea beating Crystal Palace in the 4th round 5-0 at home. Had a kind set of draws that has given them 3 home games in a row. Spurs, meanwhile, 3-0 home winners against Leicester before beating London City on penalties away. Pop goes direct. Tambet did the first bit right, but gave it to a blue shirt, and now James has lots of options. Might just go herself, does. Scrambled away by Amanda Neil-Dent. But you really are asking for trouble, leaving a player of Lauren James's quality in that much space. So much time to think about whether she looked for 1 of 3 in the box, or I think was trying to, in the end, drive it towards that far corner of the goal across the keeper. Short from James, Thompson. James. Little dink from James. Runs kindly for Gibson. Cannon on the slide, neatly done. Kira Walsh dropping deep. Once described Kira Walsh by women's football journalist Tom Garry as if football was sailing. Kira Walsh is not just the best yachtswoman nor the finest boat, but the wind itself, which is a neat poetic way of summing up how Walsh can play-make a game from central midfield. Spurs now a bit more content just to not press quite as high as they were in the opening exchanges, but that's good from Tambet. Sonia Bonpastor's side chasing a domestic double. All but relinquished their WSL crown that they've worn ever since Arsenal won it in May 2019. It's been Chelsea's in every season since, until you would think surely this one. Charles. One back by Hanovic. He couldn't get it to England. Walsh. Overhit from Buchanan. Sonia Bonpastor's Chelsea seeking yet more history in a competition that they have so much in. There has of course been so much change as well since the departure of Emma Hayes. Bonpastor in her second season. They only have to go back to the lineup that won 1-0 against Manchester United in the FA Cup final in May 2023. From that starting 11 and the subs, just 6 of that 20 remain at the club. That's quite how much has changed at Chelsea in the last almost 3 years. Carpenter's cross. Too much on it. If you're wondering who the 6 survivors are from that Chelsea 2023 FA Cup final, it's Niamh Charles, Erin Cuthbert, Lauren James, Sam Kerr, Hannah Ritting-Carnareid, who's out injured at the moment, and Kadisha Buchanan. The likes of Anne-Catherine Berger, Perisset, Maren Mjelde, Magdalena Eriksson, Jessie Fleming, Melanie Lloyd-Pols, and more recently, of course, baby-faced assassin Cora Wrighton. Moving on. Germa had to be careful. Tam there for company. Buchanan. Carpenter. Well, Hannah Hampton is the kind of keeper who has the long-range two-footed passing game that if Spurs were to sit off here, she could be the one to actually unlock this defence. As James goes crossfield, now Carpenter. Clever ball for Nusken. Off Neil then. Another Chelsea corner. Millie Bright watching on. Not injured today, part of an injury list that's a little longer than Chelsea would want it to be. Natalie Bjorn, Abby Beaver-Jones also on that, as James crosses. Recycled for Carpenter. Thompson. James. So good at finding space. Just trying to roll it into a dangerous area. It comes for Erin Cuthbert, who's in so many ways the heart and soul of this Chelsea team. Charles rolls it back. James shimmies, and James just lost her footing as she struck it. But an early warning sign from Lauren James, who could find space even if you put her in a telephone box. And she certainly found some space there. Blackstone probably just about distracting enough with that challenge as James went to shoot. Tambert helps it on to England, who got there first, could only find Buchanan. England's just getting to her feet somewhat gingerly. Spurs continue with the ball at their feet. Looking to get themselves a goal against the run of play. Haven't scored in their last 3 against Chelsea, who won 2-0 away from home in the league in February, thanks to Kira Walsh and Mr. Thompson. And Walsh scored in a 1-0 home win for Chelsea last October in the league. Thompson slides it in behind, just too much on it for Kerr. And the Spurs fans nervously watching that goal that their side are defending in the first half. Applaud in relief as much as anything else. defence has to be wary. Forward by Hanovic. What a bit of work in a tight space from Signe Gupset to keep possession. It's moments like that that are why she's so highly rated. Spence. Rare spell of possession here for Spurs. What can they make of it? That's a nice one too. And now it's opening up for Vin Barry. Stopped by Buchanan. Good advantage played by the referee for the foul on Nusken, which will bring a booking. Amanda Neal then joins Drew Spence in the referee's notebook. Buchanan even using a head when she was on the floor. Not the first central defender to have done that over the years in desperation, and did so successfully. Linking up with Kerr. Now Carpenter's got room. Carpenter's roll back. Just begging for a final touch from someone. The game is panning out in some ways, much like a few of us up here in the press box expected. Chelsea having more of the ball, and Chelsea particularly offering a threat in the wide areas. That's where Tottenham seem the most vulnerable. Nusken. Kerr. Spurs appealing for an offside that never came. Nice strong defence from Toko Koga. Asian Cup winner with Japan. As a 20-year-old who's fitted in superbly at centre-back this season, and that would be a confidence-boosting moment for her, putting that challenge in on Kerr. James to deliver. Good strong header by Nilden. James with the silky skills and with the floater. They run for Gupset. He almost got past Carpenter. Dean Barry. Had the pass been better, would have been real danger for Chelsea there. Chelsea, after the upcoming international break, finish off in the WSL with Everton away on the 26th of April, then Leicester away and Manchester United at home in May. And they hope, of course, as both of these sides do, an FA Cup semi-final and a final. Semi-finals on the 9th or 10th of May, the final on the 31st of May. Your early bird ticket prices for the final ending at midnight on the 12th of April. Always a great occasion at Wembley. Spence got a foot on it. England. Blackstone. Might be at left back today, but it's very much someone who's very accomplished at also playing left winger. Julia Blackstone will always offer an option in a more forward-thinking sense when one side's got the ball. Blackstone. Once of Manchester City, didn't quite get the playing time she'd have wanted there in a squad packed full of worldwide talent. Spence. Better from Spurs. Spence. Barry. Spence. England. Tambert gets it away to England. It's Bethany England. And it's a brilliant block by Niamh Charles to stop her old teammate, putting Spurs 1-0 up. Easily Spurs' best move of the match, this. Orchestrated by Spence. Nice link play between Tambert and England. Tambert just set England free. Charles had to desperately get back. Second corner of the game for Spurs. Really floated high. Game of head tennis. Cuthbert thought for a second of just putting her boot through it, but instead calmly slid it in behind for Thompson. He's not got a lot of support. Starting to arrive now. Cuthbert got it away in the nick of time. Playing advantage for the foul. James. Carpenter on the outside. It is Carpenter. And I think it will be a goal kick. Carpenter put off by the sliding challenge, just losing control. Erin Cuthbert down from that tackle earlier on in the move. Cuthbert, Chelsea captain today, but in her own words, I shout at everyone whether I'm captain or not. Very much the heart of this Chelsea team. Was caught late by Tinka Tambert. Tambert has been booked for that as well, so he's the third Spurs player to pick up a yellow card after Spence and Neil Dent. Cuthbert getting extended treatment here, and you know it's bad if Erin Cuthbert's getting an extended spell of treatment. Scotland's vice-captain, of course, with 84 caps, and it's very much inspired a generation when it comes to our country. If your dreams don't scare you, they aren't big enough, in her own words. Serial trophy winner with Chelsea, and has looked to take that into life of Scotland, driving them into major tournaments. I do expect Cuthbert will continue here. When you talk about that cliche of tough as old boots, that really is Erin Cuthbert. Cuthbert battling on. No changes for now. Chelsea's podcast princess, as she calls herself, such as she, a very regular, almost host at this point on the club's weekly CFC Women podcast. Possibly building a media career for after her playing days end, but there's still a long time left for that. It feels remarkable to think that she's still potentially at 27 coming into the peak of her powers. Spence. Blackstone. Spence just gets away from Nusken. Again, better from Spurs. Carpenter gets the goal kick off Blackstad. I suppose you come into this with something of the pressure of. Had a terrible finish to last season in the WSL. 3 points from their last 10 games meant they finished 11th. Second bottom, having been 6th and FA Cup runners-up the season before, but Martin Ho has taken Spurs back up the table. Started the season confidently with 7 wins from 9 in all competitions, and despite their form tailing off a little bit recently, will still almost certainly finish 5th. Here's Charles. Has options. Kerr was waiting at that far post. Still there for Chelsea. Effort from Cuthbert. No foul from Hanovic on Thompson. Throw off Charles. Alyssa Thompson signed from Angel City in September of last year on a 5-year contract for just under £1 million. Breakout star of the NWSL and the US national team. Seen somewhat as Chelsea's response to Arsenal signing Olivia Smith. Of course, Thompson, a great player in her own right. Cuthbert just lost out against Gupset, who in combination with Tambert is causing problems. Still Gupset, might go herself. Forces Hampton into a save. Well, that's the kind of thing that Signe Gupset can do. Very good at wriggling through defenders. Great credit to Tambert for her role. First shot on target of the game for Spurs. 1 each on that front. Gamma. Walsh, as she loves to do, dropping between those two centre halves. Carpenter. Spurs after this have Manchester United at home on the 26th of April and then finish their season with London City Lionesses at home and Brighton away in May. Much like their opponents, will hope that there's a couple more games in this competition to slot into that fixture list. Carpenter. Walsh inside, James. Going a long way around. Now coming back inside. Charles. Chelsea trying to find a solution to getting through Spurs' low block. They haven't there. Spence. Hook up. Slaloms past a couple. Pass was too predictable though. And now James. Inviting Carpenter to join the attack. Gunn. Charles inside for Walsh. Thompson. Walsh. Walsh again. Does get it across, and Sanka finishes it off. Hypnotically beautiful passing from Chelsea, and Kira Walsh made sure that it was laid on a plate for Sanka. Chelsea's pressure pays off. Kira Walsh, the conductor of the orchestra, And Sam Kerr was the star turn on first violin. Couldn't miss from there. Did have a bit of company from Kopp and 2 defenders, but Kerr was always going to make sure she was in the right place. Well, Kerr, quick to credit Walsh, as she should be. It would be so frustrating for Martin Ho, because Spurs were just over 5 minutes plus stoppages from the psychological boost of getting to half-time 0-0. Being able to reset and rebuild from there. And for all Chelsea's possession, it was just their second shot on target of the game. Sam Kerr with her 12th goal of the season across all competitions, her 4th in the FA Cup, scored 2 in the 4th round, 1 in the 5th, now 1 in the quarters. James. Kerr. Very dangerous time now for Spurs, having just conceded, got to re-find their composure with half-time just round the corner. The second now truly would make it a mountain to climb. James. Just slightly overhit. Well, this will be a real psychological as well as technical test for Spurs, who lost 5-2 against Arsenal in the North London derby 9 days ago, where Alessia Russo got a 27-minute hat-trick. Caitlin Ford and Stina Blacksenius also on target. Spurs did score through an own goal and a nicely worked goal for Bethany England, but always playing catch-up. And of course, 7 days before that, lost 5-2 at Manchester City. Chuck in a 2-1 loss at home against Everton the week before. And you wouldn't blame Spurs for slightly having to find some confidence from somewhere to try and get back into this. It's a nice ball though. It's inviting England to run onto it. Gunner. Kerr. Walsh. Stopped by Tambert. He's looking for Blackster. Goal for Vin Barry. England. On by Vic. Good set. Here comes Thompson. And she's speedy. Runs the 100 metres in 11.5 seconds. You're not stopping her. And now it's Kerr. Has Thompson, might not need her. Blocked by Kugger. Solid defence from Toko Kugger. Signed last summer from Feyenoord. Described as a ray of sunshine for her calmness and positivity, both on and off the pitch. Spurs need all of that in defence now more than ever. Spence. Minimum of 3 minutes added time at the end of this first half. Blackstar wanted Tambert to make that run in behind. Spurs looking to buck quite the trend. 13 league losses to Chelsea, 4 in cup competitions. It's their first FA Cup head-to-head. Chelsea won 3-1 in a League Cup quarter-final back in January 2023. Sam Kerr scoring a couple, and Fran Kirby, who put on something of a masterclass as Brighton knocked out Arsenal yesterday, was on target back then for Chelsea. Buchanan. James. Carpenter. Remember, later on today, it's Birmingham at home against Manchester City in the last of the 4 quarter-finals. Birmingham City looking to become the first team outside of the WSL to reach an FA Cup semi-final since Everton did it 10 years ago. Interception in the nick of time, and now Barry can try and get Spurs going. Heavy touch from Gupsa. Driven forward by Hampton. Kerr on for James. Given straight to Neil Den. He's eager to roam forward, but can only find Carpenter. Both sides seem, famous last words, but relatively happy to settle for half-time. And at half-time it is Chelsea in front. Sam Kerr heading in after Kira Walsh did all of the hard work in orchestrating and setting up the move. Just 2 shots on target for the home side and 1 for Spurs. And, tightly 4 half of tactical chess. Spurs have got to find another gear if they're to complete an upset at the break here in this Adobe Women's FA Cup quarter-final. It's Chelsea 1, Tottenham Hotspur 0. Let's take a look back at the best bits of that first half. Chelsea predictably having more of the ball, in and around 70% of it. Created a nice early opening here. James for Charles. And that neat little pass inside. Gave the first time chance for Alyssa Thompson. Solid save from Kopp, albeit one that you would probably also expect her to make, but did well to make sure to gather it so there was no chance on the rebound for the home side. And then James with a biting ball in behind that had Carpenter charging forward. It's the ever modern attacking right back, becoming more of a right winger there. Scramble defence from Neil Den and Blackstad doing enough. James's near post corner came back for Walsh to strike one. And then James with one of those teasing crosses that, without the intervention of Kopp, would have gone in on its own merit, albeit it was really wanting someone to get there and stab it goalwards. Always a constant threat, Lauren James, and who has shimmied in that trademark way that she does, but Blackstad's challenge probably did just about enough to mean that James was distracted when she came to shoot, leant back a little bit, hence it going over. Spurs didn't have a lot of the ball, but this was their best moment of the half, arguably. Drew Spence creating it, Tamber's link play. England trying to get round the back, but Niamh Charles was there to stop her, her old teammate. And of course, once upon a time with 74 goals in 163 appearances for Chelsea from 2016 to 2023. Upset winning it here and linking up with Tamber before deciding to go herself. And it was a save you'd expect Hampton to make, but nonetheless it was Spurs' first shot on target of the game from one of the most exciting youngsters in Europe. Was part of Martin Ho's team at Brann that reached the Champions League quarter-finals a couple of seasons back, losing to Barcelona. This was classic Kira Walsh. Walsh linking up with Thompson, and then Nusken, and then laying on the cross herself, saying, there you go, Sam Kerr. Spurs might feel like they could have defended the cross better. Great credit to Walsh. And then, of course, Kerr for a classic poacher's finish after the England midfielder had done all the hard work. Walsh digging out a really good cross as well, having got right to that byline. Not an easy thing to do, but as Kira Walsh so often does, she made it look simple. Here's the notable numbers of that first half. 2 shots to 1 on target for Chelsea in their favour, though given those 8 attempts, might have been slightly regretting until Kerr scored that they hadn't tested Lisa Kopp a little bit more, and unsurprisingly the Blues having more of the ball with 61% of it. The quarter-finals kicked off yesterday as Liverpool travelled to Charlton for a place in the semi-finals. Matt Davis-Adams watched that one, but first the FA Cup's most decorated side, 14-time winners Arsenal, entertained Brighton in the first quarter-final of the weekend. Ben Andrews was on commentary duty.
Pressure on the ball from Brighton here, and it's worked. Kirby and Cankovic between them have robbed Kim Little. It's still Cankovic here, and that's a really good hit, and it needed saving. Definitely dipping in from Cankovic. Van Domselaar with early work to do here. Really bright start from Brighton. They've got a corner. Arsenal haven't really dealt with that as Haley jumps, and Rule through the crowd and out again. Well, Van Domselaar was beaten that time. It's a good job for Arsenal that Kim Little's on the line. Scrapping away, Stina Blackstenius. This is Chloe Kelly. Oh, that's a great ball! And it had to be the opening goal for Holmberg, but but somehow it isn't. Great keeping. Adobe got out there. The long ball is a good ball for Madison Haley. Into Kirby. Back for Haley to chase here. Oh, she has! Brilliantly! What a goal! Madison Haley blasting past La Cadena and then blasting past Van Domselaar. From that angle, that is a terrific finish. And Brighton lead at Meadow Park. And I think you'd say they deserve it. Kirby really could spell this for Brighton. This is Camacho. She's been good since coming on, and now she's tested Van Domselaar. Arsenal not looking themselves here. Rattled. Kirby with the corner. Hayes with the header. 2-0. And the shock is really on now. La Cadena went walkabout. Caitlin Hayes takes advantage. Brighton 2 up in this quarter-final. Cade's corner, not a good one. Out as far as Mariona Caldente. Anything in the way will do now for Brighton. Liv Smith in towards Ford. Little, that's blocked as well. Smith again. La Cadena beaten out by Nadozi. Well, that must be it now. A look at the watch. And a blow of the whistle. And Brighton have completely deserved it. They've shut down the Gunners. And the Seagulls are in the semis.
Cappock's almost got something on that. Here's McLean. Still plenty forward here for Liverpool. Good cross as well. He's come for Enderby. Oh, what a save from Whitehouse. Liverpool close to an early lead there. Mia Enderby denied. One back by Bergstrom. Lobato's header, where's that going to end up? Off the woodwork. So close to an own goal from the Charlton centre half. Woodham, and she was tripped there by Muya. It'll be a free kick for Liverpool, and they've taken it quickly. Nagano, options in the middle here. Decent cross as well. O'Sullivan, surely. Oh, she's lifted it over the bar. Right at the end of the first half, Liverpool could and should have gone in front. Denise O'Sullivan with a bad miss. Cappock sliding it down the line for Bergstrom. Good cross from Bergstrom. Thomas couldn't quite connect. Again, Liverpool close to breaking the deadlock. McLean, clever ball. Thomas, this to win it. Thomas! In stoppage time. Couldn't get the power she was looking for. It looks like we're going to go to extra time. Surely that's the last chance to win it before then. Another Liverpool corner. Cappock's delivery, away was the shout. Banabe, so close. I think we're talking inches there. It's a decent effort on the volley from the Spaniard. Clark, oh, off the post and then blocked. Still Charlton can't get it away. It's Clark again, it's off the crossbar. There's Shaw, it's in. Surely that's the winner, and it's Zara Shaw, and what a story this is. Almost a year out with a knee injury. This is her first game back, and she may well have sent Liverpool into the semi-finals. It's heartbreak for Charlton. It's a fairy tale for sure. And Liverpool look like they've done it. Charlton 0, Liverpool 1.
Well, it's almost a quarter of a century ago since the Women's FA Cup semi-finals didn't have at least one of Chelsea or Arsenal in it, back in the 2001-2002 season. But at half-time, Chelsea are doing their best to ensure that run goes on, thanks to Sam Kerr's goal. Brighton, of course, surprise 2-0 winners at Arsenal yesterday. And as you've just seen, Zara Shaw, after one of the most ridiculous goalmouth scrambles you've seen for a long time, scoring the goal that saw Liverpool through away against high-flying WSL 2 side Charlton Athletic. A warm welcome back to Kings Meadow, where at half-time, Sam Kerr's goal is the reason why Chelsea and their super fans like Basil will be pretty delighted as they try and bounce back from a midweek Champions League exit. But plenty of time for that to change, of course. We saw yesterday with Arsenal against Brighton that being home and being the favourites counts for nothing in a one-off cup tie. Spurs now attacking from left to right, Chelsea in all blue, except for the socks from right to left. No changes for either team at the break. So can Chelsea turn a half-time lead into yet another FA Cup semi-final appearance as they chase a 7th FA Cup title, or can Spurs make it just a 3rd major semi-final appearance across the club's entire history? And it would be just a 2nd in the FA Cup, having been going on to finish as runners-up a couple of seasons back. I'm Michael McCann, your commentator. Great to have your company on this day that gives the optimism of summer being right around the corner, up at around 17 degrees here, and the sun is very much out. Time to dispense with the winter coat. Tough task for Spurs, this, against an opponent that over the years they've had so many heartaches against, of course. Chelsea have already won both the league games between these two this season and won all 17 meetings. Well, Buchanan wanted to shepherd it out for a goal kick, but it wouldn't quite go, and no foul given. Real chance for Spurs here. And the recovery work from Lauren James to bail Buchanan out was excellent. Chelsea a bit guilty of not playing to the whistle there, and needlessly putting themselves in a bit of bother. Finbury played on and almost created a bit of magic. Now here come Chelsea. Sonia von Pastor talked about her side missing that clinical element in front of goal in large parts of this season. Well, I'm sure she would have at half-time demanded that Chelsea stay on the front foot, go and get a second and ideally even a third to not give Spurs sniff of an upset. Vic gets the throw off Charles. And a Vic who signed from Vika Hacken in January. Martin Ho using his Scandi links that he built particularly when in charge of Escobran. There's quite a Scandi contingent across this Spurs team. Even for the WSL, they're on the higher end of that. Here comes Cuthbert, releases Kerr. Kerr across, Kerr offside. Sam Kerr, whose header is the difference between the teams. He's come a long way from being the kid who actually hated football and preferred playing Aussie rules instead. Inverse header. Dipset got there ahead of Walsh, but then Nusken finds Carpenter. Spence. It's no surprise that Spurs have often looked at their best today, and she's been on the ball. Cheap concession of possession. Nervous moment for Neil Den. Plenty of thinking to do for Martin Ho. He said in an interview with The Guardian just a few days ago, if the season ended now, it's been a success. Wanted to spend the first 6 months giving everyone a chance to show what they could do. Work psychologically after the disappointment of how last season had ended. And tactically asking them to play totally different, to be brave with the ball, to build up and press higher up the pitch. And naturally the biggest test comes against teams like this. Kerr couldn't quite get the layoff right. Might be a chance on the break for England. Needed a touch more support than she had. Sumane. Vic. It's won by Germa. And now Chelsea can buy a second goal as they chase a 7th FA Cup title to try and move yet further up that ladder. Offside against Nusken. Arsenal with 14 FA Cup titles remarkably across the last 24 years. Southampton won 8, all between 1970 and 1981. Doncaster Bells won 6 back in the 80s and early 90s. So if Chelsea could get a 7th this season, they'd be behind just Southampton and Arsenal when it comes to all-time FA Cup wins. Covering across was Buchanan, with a little too much physicality for referee Stacey Pearson's liking. And Buchanan not particularly happy with the decision, but has definitely let Signal Gupset know that she's there. Evelina Sumanen to take. What can the Finn produce? Sing from Sumanen, and it's gone in! Evelina Sumanen! I'm not sure she meant it. I'm not sure Spurs will care. Finally, for the first time in 4 games, Spurs score against Chelsea. I think Sumanen is more likely just trying to whip it into a dangerous area. He does take a nick off Hampton on the way through. Spurs are level. What a moment for the Spurs fans behind that goal. You've experienced so much pain when their side have faced Chelsea over the years. Sumanen actually scored Spurs' last goal against Chelsea before the one you've just seen, which came in a 5-2 away loss in October 2024. Amanda Nielden and Sumanen scoring in defeat. And Spurs hadn't found the net in their last 3 games against Chelsea, and of course today, until the Finn produced that. Well, as all head coaches do. Martin Host staying very much level-headed on the touchline. Oh, now Kerr, what a dreadful mistake that is. And Kerr can't quite punish it. It's a great recovery stop. Kopp left in all sorts of trouble. Kopp, of course, made that high-profile error to give Russo a hat-trick against Arsenal 9 days ago. That time, of course, Kopp was blameless and saved her defence. Walsh. There's space here. The cutback's good. Thompson shot. And then blasted wide by James. It's all happening here. There was some muted ball appeals from Thompson's shot. I think that replay confirms it would have been extremely harsh, to say the least. Well, Spurs have got to be wary here. Foul by James. Those Spurs fans who've got something to smile about at the start of this second half. Inside from Tambert, but it didn't find Gupset. Thompson wants it on the 1-2. Charles. Oh, that's clever from Cuthbert. And Cuthbert's cross has just about stayed in play, and now James's ball in and off the line from Toko Koga. Spurs living dangerously. A big response from Chelsea ever since conceding the equaliser. Been relentlessly after Spurs. Thompson's header, which he didn't quite get all of, but still got enough to force a clearance off the line. What's Erin Cuthbert got from the corner? James stands one up. Offside flag up against Kerr. Sam Kerr, who of course had that long ACL and knee-related recovery layoff from January 2024 through to September 2025. So great to see her back out on the pitch doing what she does, and Chelsea fans very much hope she'll be signing a contract extension soon to be around for next season. Poga. Vic, England. And into Walsh, the Lioness's teammate. No foul from Spence. Gupset has lots of options, and one of them is Sumanen, the goal scorer. Gupset invited across, chose not to. Still Gupset, and rolls it back across. He's begging for someone to arrive and finish, and now the strike from distance by Neil Den. Hampton had to be wary. Well, that's quality work in a tight space from Signe Gupset initially. And then Neil Den just decided, you know what, I'm going to hit one, and Hampton had to make sure, even if that replay suggests it might have been drifting wide. Spurs set piece. Greenberry. And it's wide from Blackstad. It was a free header as well. She'll be disappointed that that was off target, Julia Blackstad. Managed to wriggle away from Carpenter, the left-sided player. He was seen as a bit of a statement signing when Spurs signed her. Julia Blackstad in January from Hammarby in Sweden. Norwegian international, and someone who'd spent a couple of seasons in England already with Manchester City. First change of the game for either side. Eve Charles is replaced by Phil Abumon. Born in Bemmel, came through the PSV Academy, made her senior debut as a 17-year-old. Rare bit of poor distribution from Hampton. That's a bit of a collector's item. Chelsea now with 4 changes up their sleeve after that alteration. Spurs still with a full quota of 5 there to use. Vic. Interception runs kindly for Kerr after it was won by Germer, but now it's Spence. Tempo and end-to-end nature of this game in transition has really stepped up in the second half. The cup game always brings a different intensity to it, of course. Tambert. Hurriedly smashed clear by Spence. Ball's a bit of a hot potato in there. Carpenter. Threads it through for Nusken. That's the run of Carpenter. Buchanan bringing such experience to this Chelsea team from successful campaigns in World Cups, in Olympic Games, 150 plus caps for Canada. Temporarily won by Spurs, but here come Chelsea again. Beaumont, who's only just come on. Kerr. Cuthbert shimmies away. Well recovered by Sumanen. And now it's come for Carpenter. Just wouldn't quite sit down in time for her to hit it without the defence coming back. And then James was, I think, trying to find Kerr rather than score herself. Blocked by Neil Den to deny Carpenter. Lauren James. Nuskin. Back for James, who in September 2024 launched a scholarship programme to improve diversity in women's football, helping young girls from minority backgrounds at the start of their careers. Cleared by Hampton all the way through to her opposite number, Cobb. Was sensing a chance there. Tambert making a nuisance of herself and getting there ahead of Buchanan. Chelsea nearly putting themselves in all sorts of bother. Great credit to Katinka Tambert here, making a right old nuisance of herself. Did get a touch on it. Tambert, who grew up as a Spurs fan, watching games at White Hart Lane, and now living her dream, the Norwegian international, in a Spurs shirt. Anna Vik. Only half away. Blackstad got it all wrong. Walsh. Kerr. Slides it past Cougar. Thompson. Just slightly lost the momentum now. And so they're not attacking against a Spurs defence that's in transition. Spurs are set back into that low block shape. Beaumont. Upset helped win it back, but Spurs have played their way into trouble. Nuskin. Nuskin's cross is a great one. And headed wide at the far post by Carpenter. A golden chance for the Australian. Ghosting in at the back post. Like it's Halloween. Just couldn't quite apply the finishing touch. Alan Carpenter, who's come a long way from growing up in a small town of just a few thousand population in Kora, 4 hours drive east of Sydney. England. Might shoot. Does shoot. Easy for Hampton. Never needs a second invite to have a go, Bethany, England. Bethany, England, of course, who signed 4 Spurs from Chelsea in early 2023, said on Jill Scott's podcast, "I hate change. Like my bubble and routines, I found it difficult when I went to Spurs, but they couldn't have done more. Chelsea was always like a home to me, and for the first few months I really struggled getting used to the change. Going from champions and being in a Champions League to a relegation battle was very humbling. But one of the best things that happened to me. Scored a lot of goals, and it got me to the 2023 World Cup squad, and I couldn't have been more grateful." Thompson. Hampton under pressure. This is the highest press we've seen Spurs on since the opening 10 minutes of the match. Header won by Neil Den. Now a chance for Spurs through Binbarry. Dealt with by Buchanan. Carpenter. Blocked by Sumanen, who follows up with the physicality she's known for. Katalina Sumanen with the 5th most interceptions and the 8th most tackles in the WSL, and she offers plenty going forward too. An all-action central midfielder with more than 100 appearances for Spurs. Beaumont. Top. Can't find Hanovic. Well, when asked about He's a cop after her mistake in the North London derby, playing out from the back. Martin Ho said he trusted his players and would keep encouraging them to play that way. That was the culture he wanted to build in this Spurs team. Didn't quite work there, but this is better. England. Tampe. Sumane. Great move from one box to the other from Spurs here. Spence. Sumanen. Vic. Room to attack into Hanevik. Koga. Sumanen. Good set. Vic round the outside. It's Vic's pullback. Away in the nick of time from Kira Walsh. Great move from Spurs. Must have been well past double figures, maybe past 20 passes in that, but the throw-in doesn't quite work out for them. Instead, Chelsea can try and build their way out. Chelsea chasing a 7th FA Cup title since winning it for the first time in 2015. It feels like a long time ago now, with 1-0 win against Notts County. G scoring the winner at Wembley with just over 30,000 in attendance. The likes of Carly Telford, Laura Bassett, Alex Greenwood, Rachel Williams and Alan White and Jess Clark in that Notts County team. Hannah Blundell, Claire Rafferty, Drew Spence, of course, who's on the pitch today for Spurs. Millie Bright, who's out injured for Chelsea right now. Katie Chapman and Chema Davison and Eni Aluko, some of the famous names in that Chelsea lineup that day. The squad looking to add their slice of history. Hampton goes more direct. Just slightly overhit for Thompson. Is an extraordinary asset as a distributor when she gets it right, Hampton. Both in terms of the range of how far she can kick on both feet and how precise she is one of the very best in the world. Sumane tracked down by Cuff, but miscommunication, won by Spence. Tempo of this game in the second half has really gone from maybe give 3.5 in the first to 4.5 and at times 5. It's pretty full throttle. Koga inviting Vic to chase it. Germa has to be wary, wins the goal kick. Spurs again set on the high press, which has been a theme in more recent times. Changes coming for Spurs, including a welcome return to the pitch after almost a year out with an OCL injury for Ella Morris. She got injured on England duty in May of last year. Morris, such an asset that Spurs to have back at the right back slot. Evelina Sumanen, the goal scorer, making way. Olivia Holt comes on. Changes for Chelsea as well. Sunday Baltimore and Vika Kaptein to come on for Chelsea. What a pair of players to be able to bring on. Off goes Joke Nusken. Nusken, who so often is a bit of a lucky charm for Chelsea fans at Kingsmeadow, particularly when arriving on her bike, scoring a goal and an assist when doing that a week ago, having scored a hat-trick against Brighton back in 2023 when doing so. Ruskin having a very tidy game in midfield today, but Baltimore will bring something different and yet more quality for Spurs to deal with. Subs making a near instant impact here. Speaker Captain almost created something. Chelsea will likely stay in broadly the 4-3-3 shape we saw before, with Baltimore in for James in that left wing role, Captain in for Nuskin. Kopp in no rush. Walsh, chased by Spence. Of course, those changes mean that Chelsea have made 3 of their 5 available now. Spurs have made 2 and have 3 more up their sleeve. Just ran out of room, Buchanan. And as expected, it seems like for Spurs, Ellen Morris is slotted straight in at right back in place of Hanavik. And Olivia Holt for Sumanen in midfield. Cross too close to Kopp. .4% possession for Chelsea, which you may remember that at half-time it was 61, so that reflects the fact that actually in the second half so far, by my maths, Chelsea have had about 50% of the ball, if not slightly less. It reflects that Spurs have come into the game in an attacking sense more and have found more of a foothold with the ball at their feet. Blackster. England has plenty of support. Does get the cross in. Took a slight nick off Buchanan on the way through. And it ended up being simple for Hampton. Just over a quarter of an hour plus stoppages left. Extra time and penalties available if needed. Spurs have already done that in round 5 against the London City Lionesses this season. Of course, when Spurs got to the final a couple of seasons back, beat Manchester City on penalties in the quarters, before seeing off Leicester in extra time in the semis, thanks to Martha Thomas. Here comes Carpenter with lots of room. Carpenter's cross and wide by Kerr. Rapid flowing move down that right. Carpenter finding bags of space as a right winger. And Kerr managed to get in the clear against Toko Koga, who has marked her diligently all afternoon. And by her high standards, would have expected to hit the target. Chelsea free kick. For the foul on Cuthbert, who's been in the wars a little. Cuthbert round the corner. Real possibilities here. They're almost queuing up for Chelsea. It's Baltimore, stopped by Kopp. And then a block from Vika Kaptein that could have gone in the net. Somehow, Spurs survive. Baltimore, who's only just come on, putting it across the face of goal, and Kaptein on the block. That could have gone in. I think Baltimore's trying to score herself there into that far corner rather than necessarily set up Kerr. Kopp. Nodded on by Ella Morris. Tough game for Morris to come back into after almost a year out. England. Tambert won't get there ahead of Germer, who goes safety first. Ella Morris comes across to take the throw. Easily Spurs' first choice right back when available. Got her first England call-up last year, but of course sadly got an ACL on that call-up. Tambert does win the corner. Great hold-up play. Exactly what you want from Katinka Tambert. Gets Spurs the set piece. I remember watching her in early 2023 in a game for Linköping against Rosengård in the Swedish league when René Slegers, the now Arsenal boss, was in charge of Rosengård. And Tambert was superb for Linköping in a 4-1 home win, absolutely terrorised them, and it was quite clear to observers of the Swedish league even back then that she was destined for bigger things. He's now at Spurs and has won them this set piece. Floated corner. Comes all the way through for Baltimore, who will fancy a counter-attack, the French international. Won by Spence. England. 2 ex-Chelsea players. With almost 400 appearances for Chelsea between them. Cross away by Cuthbert. Spence fighting to get there. Using her body really cleverly in the duel. I think was trying to win a corner there. Away by Carpenter. Anywhere will do stuff for Chelsea in that moment, and that's a compliment to Spurs. Just over 10 to go. Is this Spurs' moment? Miscued across, and Buchanan almost got in a right-hole mix-up. Spurs have really come into this game more in the second half, and neither side right now can be even remotely accused of playing for extra time or penalties. And Spurs, to their great credit, having withstood a lot of pressure after scoring the equaliser, have refound a tactical, least even keel in the game, if not at times have, particularly the last few minutes, offered more themselves. Plenty of twists and turns to go yet, though. A little too direct from Kopp. Spurs looking to a version of what Brighton did yesterday when going to one of the favourites for the competition and knocking them out. Have to go back to the 2001-2002 season for the last time there wasn't Chelsea or Arsenal in the Women's FA Cup semi-finals, I should say. Bourmont inside. Crossed by Kaptein. How have Spurs got away with that? Well, Vika Kaptein does everything right. And Sam Kerr's expression speaks for itself. Kerr, I think, had just pulled herself back a little bit, expecting a cutback, and that meant she couldn't get there. And there's an inquest from the Spurs defence wondering how that could happen. Carpenter gets it off Binbarry. Well, Binbarry wanted to take the throw quick, but the options weren't quite there for Matilda Binbarry. Swedish international who's come into her own this season. Tambe. Buchanan wins that battle and then just draws the foul. Someone who's strictly neutral in the commentary box. That's been a great battle of skill and physicality to watch all day between those two, and the way things are going, there's every chance we might get an extra 30-minute instalment of it. Straight out from Hampton. Not too often you see that. Martin Ho eyeing an FA Cup semi-final spot. What a massive moment it would be for his Spurs team. But right now they're under real pressure. Thompson. Spence covering across, has got beaten. And there's Neil Dent. Is this Chelsea's moment? In a competition they have so much history in. Winners 6 times in the last 10 seasons. Since their first FA Cup back in 2015. It's a good corner. It's away by Neil Dent. Still not properly clear though. Whacked away by Morris. It's so good to see back from that ACL, not her first, she had one as a 17-year-old as well. Baltimore, stopped by Morris. It's defensive interventions like that that are what caught Serena Wiegmann's eye after an excellent 2024-25 season. Cuthbert. Germa allowed to run. And then Baltimore. Spurs have got to be careful. Referee Pearson not interested in the penalty appeals. And then Morris with a crucial foot on it there, but the danger's still not gone. Beaumont decides to strike! Fila Beaumont! An absolute rocket sends Kingsmeadow wild and might send Chelsea into the FA Cup semi-finals. Her first goal for the club, and what a time for it! Morris gets a touch on it, and then Beaumont says, I'll do the rest. The defender had plenty of attacking options around her, but only had eyes for goal. Dutch delight. Spurs despair. Not long at all for Spurs to rescue themselves. And if that is to be the goal that decides it, then Spurs get the consolation prize of at least knowing that they've pushed Chelsea far harder than their recent 5-2 defeats in the league against Manchester City or Arsenal. But that is a devastating blow for Martin Ho's team. who actually in the period of time before Boumon produced that had actually arguably looked at times the stronger attacking force in the arm wrestle. Fights him off. Third would be a real nerve settler for Chelsea. Well, trying to put that into the path of Kerr. Morris did just enough to put Captine on. It's worth saying for those that like their stats, when it comes to expected goals, it's 2.88 for Sonia Bonpastor's side and 0.34 for Spurs, which reflects the fact that Chelsea have carved out the better chances. Morris. England concedes the throw.
Substitution for Tottenham.
Signa Gupset makes room.
For number 11, Olivia Holt.
And Olga Attinen comes on. Attinen, the Finnish international, energetic, attacking-minded midfielder. England. Blocked by Germa. Holt. Cuthbert gets past Attinen. So often find a way, Chelsea, even when it's not necessarily the complete 90-minute performance that Sonia Bonpastor might want. Is this to be another of those days? It would be 18 wins from 18 against Spurs since starting to regularly play Spurs from when they got promoted up into the WSL in 2019. Minimum of 3 minutes added on. Still time here for Tottenham. Olivia Holt, she can make things happen. And Holt still going. Gets it away to Tambert. It's Tambert! Drags it wide. What a chance for Katinka Tambert. The first touch was marginally too heavy, and that meant she was straining to get there when she shot, which contributed to it going wide. Looking to drive it into that far corner. And the Norwegian knows what a great opportunity that was. She's already made herself a fan's favourite in her first season at Spurs. That debut goal from 40 yards out against Everton at Goodison, arguably the WSL goal of the season, if not certainly one of them. And has been teaching other players Spurs songs, having been a lifelong fan of the club. Safety first from Hampton. Holt. Still going, despite close attention from Baltimore. Now Morris with the cross. There wasn't quite someone in the right place after it was hooked back in. Chelsea being forced to really fight their way into the semi-finals. try to join Brighton and Liverpool. Well, Spurs have been here before. They scored with pretty much the last kick of the game from the penalty spot. It was literally the last kick of the 90. Through Bethany England to take it to extra time and then win on penalties in round 5 against the London City Lionesses. Morris with the long throw. England with the flick on. It's Holt. Little overhead, but there wasn't enough on it to trouble Hampton. Home fans desperate for the whistle, as is Bonpastor. And Spurs carve out one last chance, or will Tambez prove to be the best opportunity to get that second equaliser? Down the line by Beaumont. And it's Fila Beaumont, who's the unlikely heroine for Sonia Bonpastor's Chelsea, who, having gone out of the Champions League quarter-finals in midweek, have made it through to the Adobe Women's FA Cup semi-finals as they chase a domestic double. It's not to be for Spurs, out in the quarters in 2019, 2020, and this year, having been runners-up in 2024. But Spurs can console themselves with the fact that they pushed Chelsea really hard. Sam Kerr had the home side in front, heading in just before half-time after great work from Kira Walsh. Everton Sumanen equalised early in the second half with a free kick that drifted all the way in. But Fila Beaumont in the 86th minute, crashing one into the top corner to score her first goal for the club. A day the young Dutch international will never forget. And she is the reason that it's finished Chelsea 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1. Let's take a look back at the highlights of this one, which, particularly in the second half, became one of those end-to-end cup ties that you just couldn't take your eyes off. Just 3 shots on target in the first half. This was one of them. Alyssa Thompson set up by Niamh Charles after a smart move down the left. And then Lauren James with a teasing cross that Pop had to parry around the post. Just begging for final touch from a blue shirt that he didn't quite get. Spurs had their moments on the break going forward. This one of the best of them. Her only shot on target in the first half. Signe Gupse testing Hannah Hampton after starting the move and linking up nicely with Katinka Tambert. This was the goal that put Chelsea in front. Kira Walsh linking up with both Siokka Nusken after first in so with Alyssa Thompson, and it was Walsh who then set it up for Sam Kerr. Walsh, the conductor of the orchestra, Kerr, the virtuoso first violinist, who was there at the end to apply the finishing touches after the good work of others. Kerr's 4th goal in the FA Cup this season, 12th across all competitions. making it look easy, as she so often does. Spurs might be a little frustrated that she was able to get there in the 6-yard box. This was the equaliser in the 52nd minute. Evelina Sumanen, I think, is just trying to whip that ball into a dangerous area. But as it is, goes all the way in, taking a slight touch off the backpedaling Hannah Hampton from her left glove on the way through. A big moment for Spurs in front of their away fans. The first time in 4 games, including this one, where they've managed to score against Chelsea, having not scored against them in the previous 3 before this fixture. And this was a moment where Spurs nearly handed Chelsea the lead back on a play. Lisa Kopp bailing out her defence after a moment that Amanda Nielden won't want to watch back. Almost with a second of the afternoon. Chelsea responded really well to that Sumanen equaliser and had a period of 10 minutes or so where it was near relentless pressure on the Spurs goal. This was one of the most notable moments of that. Thompson's header cleared away by Toko Koga, a 20-year-old Japanese centre-back who was one of Spurs' best players for my 2 cent today. In a game where she and that Spurs backline have been under near constant pressure. As Abby on the N17 podcast said, it's been a different backline for Spurs due to squad turnover injuries in the Asian Cup. And today, Spurs backline showed a lot more steel than in the last 2 games where they conceded 5 in both. This was yet another moment where Chelsea were pressing. The substitutes combining, Kaptein and Baltimore, and then Kaptein almost scoring from the block on the follow-up at the end. Boumon here, slipped it inside for Kaptein. And the Dutch prodigy rolled it across the face of goal. Dika Kaptein. No one could get there to tuck it in. And then this was the moment that won it. Comes off Morris, finds Boumon, who does the rest in some style. Read the interception perfectly, the talented teenager, and then fired in. Her first goal for the club, much better known for her handiwork at the back. That is a sizzler of a strike that only gets better every time you watch it, unless you're a Spurs fan, of course, for whom it's heartbreak. That was in the 86th minute, but there was still time for Spurs to almost drag it into extra time. Olivia Holt, always a willing and dangerous runner, Danish international, found Katinka Tamba, who couldn't quite find the far bottom corner. That was Spurs' late chance to make it 2-2 and get Tamba her 7th of the season. Let's take a look at the notable numbers of that one then. 5 each in terms of attempts on target. Chelsea might feel that like they were a little wasteful in having 17 in total, but just 5 that were hitting the target. But ultimately, Viola Boumon coming up trumps late on. Possession heavily in Chelsea's favour in the first half, but Spurs came much more evenly into the game in the tactical contest in the second. They can take a lot of pride from their performance, despite the disappointment of going out. So it's Chelsea who go through to the final 4, through to the FA Cup semi-finals for the 12th time in the last 13 seasons, as they chase their 7th title. Even when not quite at their best, they still so often find their way to win as they chase a domestic double. It's the Blues who found their way through. Thank you very much for your company wherever you've been across the world. I've been Michael McCann, and here at Kingsmeadow, it's Viola Boumon who's the hero. It finishes Chelsea 2, Tottenham Hotspur 1.